And we're also expecting to hear personal reflections on the service of the 3 soldiers. As you can see, it will be a socially distanced event. All seats are distanced and 6 feet apart, and it is not open to the public. News 10 NBC will be here for the whole ceremony, and you can watch it streamed live on our website, WHEC.com. From Chilai, Emily Putnam, News 10 NBC.
Emily, thank you. The country could be just hours away from adding a 3rd coronavirus vaccine to its arsenal. You're looking live at a meeting underway to determine if Johnson & Johnson's vaccine should get the green light from the FDA. A panel of outside experts debating whether the single-dose vaccine is safe and should get an emergency use authorization. The meeting comes days after the FDA's report that found the vaccine to be safe and effective. Johnson & Johnson says if authorized, it will have 4 million doses ready to be shipped immediately. New at noon, RTS is waiving bus fare on one of its routes for 2 months. It wants to help people get to the city's new mass vaccination site. Fares on all Route 35 trips to St. Paul Street will be waived from March 3rd through May 3rd. The vaccine site is in the old Kodak Hawkeye parking lot at St. Paul Street and Avenue E. RTS has 2 bus stops near that intersection. For more information and details on who is eligible to get a vaccine at the Hawkeye site, head to WHEC.com. And remember, you can find all of our COVID vaccine coverage online at WHEC.com and on the News 10 NBC app. That includes where to get your shot and who's eligible for it right now. Starting today, families can visit their loved ones in nursing homes again. It's the first time in months they can visit in person, but there's a catch. Nursing homes still need to go 14 days without a new COVID case in order to allow limited
standby jingle after liner.
The state's new policy eliminates the need for visitors to be COVID
Yes, correct. Just force a habit saying jingle. Standby.
Infection rate, which is the case in the region.
News 10 NBC on the radio. Weekdays at 5 a.m., noon, 5, 6, and 11 on the WYSL stations.
WYSL. Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship.
Only if you want to. It's your preference.
Versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time?
I'll tell you what, you bump. That way you're in control.
Freedom and liberty.
Okay, coming your way. Stand by.
But this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
You're on.
All right. Well, here I am, Andrew Hollister. Haven't been here in a while.
You sure you remember how to do this?
I don't know. It's been months and months.
Here, let me help out. Ladies and gentlemen, that strange voice that you're hearing, that you're not used to hearing, at least not for several months now, is the semi-lieutenant governor of New York, Andrew Hollister.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And I know, guys, normally Kevin's here, but Kevin had to be out for the day. I'm stepping in. I think he might have some good news to share later for us.
Can we just tease them a little bit? We can release this information.
He's not here to defend himself.
No, this is what happens. If you step away, you're fair game. No, actually, we're very happy for Kevin. And his girlfriend her name is
Sammy.
Yep. Kevin and Sammy are about to have a baby.
Yeah. So Kevin and Sammy are going to be having a baby, I think, today, at any moment, maybe right now. I'm not sure.
Last I heard, I think it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. So we'll, if we get any details, maybe while we're on break, I'll shoot him a text message and see how things are going. I did send him a message a little bit earlier, though, and haven't heard back. So
breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. The Wilson baby, the little libertarian, is about to make his debut or her debut.
Yeah, absolutely. So I won't give away name or any of that. I'll let him do that on air unless he texts me and says otherwise. But I know they're very excited. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. 9 months, I'm probably thinking.
Yeah. I think they're even a little early, if I recall.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she was supposed to be due for a couple of weeks. So just getting a head start. You know?
Well, God bless them. Let's all say a prayer for the Wilsons and the newcomer. And we'll, as soon as we know details, we'll pass them along.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are. This is the first show I'm doing in 2021.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because I was thinking, what's going on? I'm coming into 2021 here on the show. There's so many different things to talk about. I'm sure we've talked about a lot of things, but I heard just as we're walking in the door that now bars are allowed to have throwing darts, pool, and axe throwing.
Sure.
And
because that keeps the COVID cooties away, just like, you know, the COVID cooties that hover 5.5 feet off the floor, which is why when you stand up and you go to the bathroom, you have to have that mask on, but you can sit down at the table in perfect safety.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's like, the darts might be sharp and the axes are very defensive. It just scares COVID right out of the bar.
Cuts right through them.
So we are safe now.
Thank heavens that we have the smart people in Albany that we have to think of these things and to keep us so safe.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But we've all been along for this ride for quite a while now. And I definitely, for those of you listening to the show, both online and on the radio waves or on podcast, I would be interested in hearing from you if there is anything that you feel came out of COVID lockdown here in New York, or if you're listening from out of state or somewhere else, or even another country, your hometown, anything that came out of COVID that you think was actually beneficial to society, maybe beneficial to education, beneficial to your neighborhood, your community. I can think of maybe one or two things that I'm glad we've moved forward on in terms of technology, but in terms of government policy.
Oh, I've got one. Call on me.
Oh, Bob, you got something?
We might get rid of Cuomo.
Well, yeah.
I hate to be too glib about this because it would come at the expense of over 15,000 seniors in nursing homes who didn't have to die. Yeah. But he's not looking real healthy politically.
No, he's not. And it's funny. I was actually just kind of taking inventory of what's been going on in terms of Cuomo, and he had a state aide accuse him of sexual harassment and intimidation, one of his chief of staff.
Yeah, that's not going away anytime soon.
No. And it seemed for a little while, because I think this happened in October of last year, it seemed for a little while they got quiet and there was nothing. But then, boom, popped right back up again.
Well, I think the difference was Letitia James, findings that were released, which really was a tremendous body blow to Cuomo. But this is very interesting because this is not a politically motivated issue, obviously, because this is a member of his team, a highly placed Democrat, powerful operative. And so right then and there, you start off with a much higher form of credibility than you usually do in these, when you find somebody who's saying that, Donald Trump said something untoward towards her 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does, because when I first saw the headline that this came out, I immediately was like, okay, is this going to be like a partisan thing? And I opened it up and saw who it was. I'm like, oh, this is somebody that Cuomo handpicked.
Yeah.
This is a friend of his, so that definitely lends quite a bit of credibility. And I've talked to some people and they're like, oh no, it's just the Republicans. They're chasing after Cuomo. I'm like, no, this is by all means, this should be somebody who is very much on his side and would be maybe minimizing how bad this is.
Really, the jaw dropper though is that admission from Melissa DeRosa, in a Zoom call or whatever. I mean, this was. This is. Right. I mean, you listen to that and you go, she just admitted to obstruction of justice.
Yeah. I forget exactly what was said, so I'll kind of paraphrase, and forgive me if I don't have the exact language, but it was something along the lines of, we didn't want this to get out because we were worried that the federal government would investigate us.
Yeah, we froze because we were afraid it would be used against us by the Trump administration.
Yeah.
You froze and allowed people to die?
Yeah. Or just lied about the numbers. I mean, every corner of this is bad. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but it wasn't so long ago that Cuomo's team did an internal investigation. They didn't allow for an independent organization to investigate them. They did it themselves.
Yeah.
And then they came out with their own report that said, we investigated this thoroughly and found we did nothing wrong.
Right.
We did nothing wrong.
And not only that, we found it's Trump's fault.
Yeah. So
that would be true to form for Cuomo. He could very easily be one of the worst human beings on the planet, and he's our governor.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this, I don't know if you've noticed this, the reason the Democrats want to get rid of him really doesn't have anything to do with COVID, and doesn't have very much to do with #MeToo either. He's not left enough for them.
Yeah.
Is that a scary thought? Cuomo's too conservative for the Democrats now.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you live in a state like New York, where we have single party rule. You've got left and you've got more left. And sometimes you don't know who's left, the Republicans or the Democrats, and who's more left. Sometimes it's still the Republicans. And that's just the situation we're here in New York. And I'm hoping we can really turn that around because, guys, we don't have many options.
No, it's not looking good. I mean, I hate to make a bleak pronouncement like that, but I don't see any way to stem this tide, this blue tide, which is becoming more and more powerful in this state. Particularly if, as we fear, the power structure in Washington has been permanently altered to favor the Democrats, because these blue states like California and New York and Illinois are just all going to go to the federal government to get bailed out now. Yeah. So any thought of fiscal responsibility or taxes that are manageable or having any kind of infrastructure that supports the generation of wealth in these states is gone, because if they know they can just go with their hand out to the federal government, that's what Trump was, very effective in stopping.
Yeah, I think that what we're absolutely going to see is, and maybe not, but really what I think is going to happen is we're going to have to see a lot of bailouts for these states to not go under, New York State especially. And then what that's going to mean is higher taxes, guaranteed. We might see marijuana actually legalized in New York. I don't know. Cuomo keeps talking about it. He talked about it again, but this is just kind of how he strings people along. And what they'll do is they'll tax the crap out of it. So the black market won't go anywhere. And we'll still be in, just more debt than anybody could ever fathom. Welcome to New York State. Guys, you're listening to A Free Solution. I am Andrew Hollister. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology.
Just a friendly reminder, Against All Odds is the one we do going to the break.
Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
When you've been seriously injured in a car crash, you need a lawyer who knows how to beat the big insurance companies. Call me and I'll take them on so you can focus on your health and family.
Rochester.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back to A Free Solution. I am Andrew Hollister, sitting in for Kevin Wilson. Kevin is having a baby. Well, Sammy's having a baby, I think. And Kevin's there with her. So hopefully they've got some really good news for us, either during the show or after the show or sometime this weekend. Sometimes these things take time.
Yeah. They always take time.
Yeah, that's true.
In my experience. Listen, hey, let me tell you, folks, I've been through childbirth. I know all about it. All right. So just kidding, ladies. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. And I want to give a shout out to those of you who are listening online. I see you guys here in the comments. Emmy says, glad to hear Andrew again. Emmy, thanks so much for listening to us. And then I've got somebody else is commenting on here, but I can't see your name. So feel free to put it in the comments, kind of depending on where you're commenting from. Sometimes I can see it. Sometimes I can't. So, here we are. We're in 2021. We're a year in at this point into the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo wrote a book about managing the COVID crisis.
Read by him and 3 other people.
I know. It's, but yeah, I looked it up. They sold 12,000 copies.
Ooh, whoa,
and
look out.
Somehow that placed them on the bestseller list.
The what bestseller list?
I don't know. Seems like a buddy who scratches your back and moved your name up a couple bumps or something. I don't know how many books you gotta sell to get on the bestseller list, but that feels like a favor to me.
It feels like the New York Democrat Party bought 11,990 copies.
Yeah, that just could be. So I guess the question is now is Cuomo in trouble? I think the answer is very much yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's in trouble. His, I don't know that partisanship is going to fix him this time. And I think that we're going to see something similar with Cuomo that we saw with Trump. And that is, especially in New York State, I would hear elected officials say this very often. I am not sure how publicly they said this, but often I'd hear from Republicans especially, and they'd say, I just wish Trump would stop talking. It's hurting me. I'm going to lose my district. And they started trying to create distance from themselves. I think the Democrats are going to start doing the same thing with Cuomo. I think they've already started doing the same thing. They can smell the blood in the water. And I think that we're going to see a repeat here where you're going to start seeing more and more Democrats say, I'm going to lose a seat in my district if I support Cuomo because those 15,000 deaths are going to be on my head now.
Well, there's been a tremendous buildup of ill will against Andrew Cuomo because of the lockdown and the constant, and plus the fact that he obviously was relishing this with his Emmy award-winning daily TV performances and his constantly being in everybody's face about all these issues and getting crosswise with all these business owners and gyms and churches and everything else and the lecturing, it just starts to grate on people after a while. And then when we find out that he's been suppressing the reports of deaths with the nursing homes, his administration has. Obviously, that's come from him. He's skated on so many things. The corruption with the Buffalo Billion, all the stupid economic, development projects, those are in finger quotes, upstate, that really were nothing but gimmies for his contractor friends.
Yep.
So he's following, he learned well, he was tutored by Mario Cuomo, who was very big in that regard. And people are just sick of it. And he's just become totally radioactive. So I think he's done politically. I really doubt that he'll be impeached. There'll be a lot of impeachment talk from the Republicans.
Can they do? Is that what the process is in New York? Impeachment.
You can impeach. I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at the details. I don't know if it's fairly similar, from what I understand, to the federal process. But he can be removed.
Okay, yeah, because I knew that New York didn't have a recall process, if I recall.
No.
But the impeachment process, that would be very interesting. We should look up the history to see how often, if ever, that's happened.
Yeah, I confess I haven't had time to look it up, but there is talk about impeaching him, and it's all coming from the Republicans. So is how likely is it that the Democrats would join in and vote to get rid of Cuomo? Not very.
No. And we all know Cuomo, too. His arrogance will not allow him to step down. That will never happen.
No, that'll never happen.
No. It's actually funny. I read an article of all places on CNN, I think it was last week, and even they were saying he's in trouble.
Oh, CNN's been quite negative on Cuomo.
Yeah. And the Times and just like a whole bunch of places that would typically support him are really going on the attack. I don't think we're going to see any jail time, anything like that. I bet you he doesn't even end up paying a fine. I think all the damage is political because he's just too powerful. He's going to skate. That's how it is in New York.
Yeah, but what's the biggest cost to Andrew Cuomo? And that's power and influence, and that is gone. It's dissipating very rapidly. So that's quite a punishment for him.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's really unfortunate too that Cuomo has gotten away with so much in New York State, so much. And what it's finally taking for people to say, oh, we need to take action, now we need to make this change, is 15,000 people had to die.
Yeah, that's our condolences go. We don't mean to be glib about discussing this issue, in the context of Andrew Cuomo's departure, but it is awful and it's so tragic. Not only the fact that they had to pass, but that they, in many cases, did it in isolation and amid depression and wondering where their loved ones are.
Yeah, because they didn't have the ability to be around their loved ones, see them. In many cases, loved ones weren't even allowed in the building. And I know in the hospitals, I think that is still the case for quite a few surgeries and things like that, you're not able to have your loved ones there.
Well, I had an outpatient procedure at Highland on January 6th, and my wife just dropped me off at the door, said, see you later.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's the case. I mean, even going to the dentist, you can't bring anybody in with you. So.
Yeah, it's definitely and I want people to really think about this as they use language throughout their daily life. I've heard a lot of people say something like, and then COVID happened. I've heard this so many times. And then COVID happened, or, oh, we had the COVID shutdown. I want to really encourage everybody to say the government response to COVID happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
The government COVID shutdown, because COVID itself didn't create these policies. There are people responsible for creating these policies, and we need to hold them accountable. We shouldn't sit here and just say, oh yeah, a virus happened, because that's not what did this. An executive and state government made this call. Legislators made these laws and these orders, and they're being enforced by actual people. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to recognize that, and we need to call it out for how it is, and make sure that you're using that language around young ones as well. They need to grow up understanding that this isn't just something that just happened. There is responsibility attached to it, and we need to hold people accountable.
Well, the virus happened, but the reaction, which I think is a glaring example of the cure being worse than the disease, has created economic devastation. But then again, you know, if you look at this in the context of the Great Reset, that is happening right now, even as this is no longer a theoretical thing. This is about suppressing the economy of the United States to cut us down to size because that's what the Great Reset is all about. It's all about global socialism and groupthink and the curtailment of individual liberties in favor of the consensus governance style of socialist countries. That's what they're trying to impose on us. And when we have a shining example of a successful, prosperous, middle class run United States of America, that gives the lie to all of the stupid things that they're proposing with the Great Reset. So we have to reduce the United States pretty much to the status of other miserable countries in the world to guarantee the success of this asinine and frankly insane program.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, they're off to a pretty good start. I certainly have seen just small businesses, landlords, and everybody in between, even medium-sized and larger businesses too. They're in a pretty struggling spot right now. And some are in a good spot. Some are fortunate. Technology companies are probably the only ones that are really doing well. But even a lot of medical companies, I work with medical practices, they can't see as many patients. They, have to shut down occasionally in case a patient had come through who had COVID. So even the ones who typically have been looked at and pointed at in society as the people who make a lot of money are not. They're starting to just make a whole lot less than what they had, and that turns into less staff, which turns into more people at home without jobs, which turns into more unemployment, which means more money out of everybody else's paycheck to try to support this growing economic issue here in New York State. Guys, you're listening to A Free Solution. I'm Andrew Hollister. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Stand up for your freedom.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We have a nice moonlit sky out there for a bit, then clouds will increase. Could be a little rain or a sleet shower towards morning. Temps tonight in the low 30s. Saturday, again, just a slight chance of an icy mix early, then just a few rain showers through midday, drying up in the afternoon. Mild and breezy with temperatures in the 40s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
It seems anyone can build a website these days using all sorts of free tools and services. But do those websites actually get results? And how do you even measure it? Nothing But Net Solutions knows there's so much more to an online presence today. Websites are just one piece of the puzzle. Search engine optimization, pay-per-click campaigns, email campaigns, social media, mobile readiness, and responsive design, plus analytics are all part of it. Nothing But Net Solutions will affordably simplify the choices for you, providing a wide range of internet development and marketing services, all under one umbrella, customized to each situation. Nothing But Net Solutions will be there with you through every step, concerned about only one thing: results. 14 years in business and counting. That's what they really care about. Visit nbnsolutions.com or call 585-298-9510. That's 585-298-9510.
Winter's a great time to shop at Victor Chevrolet. Come see how easy it is to drive safe and secure in your new Chevy. Winter driving's a breeze in the 2021 Equinox all-wheel drive LS. Lease it for just $169 a month for 36 months. Or enjoy the versatility of a tough and roomy 2021 Trailblazer LT front-wheel drive. Lease for only $139 a month for 36 months. Or you can lease a 2021 Chevy Traverse LS all-wheel drive for just $259 a month for 36 months. The 2021 Chevy Bolt LT EV. It's just $229 a month for 36 months. And the 2021 Chevy Trax LS front-wheel drive is only $79 a month for 36 months. All these deals include all factory rebates, incentives, and discounts. 10,000 miles per year, $2,500 cash or trade. First payment, tax, acquisition, and DMV fees are all due at signing for all leases. Tier 1 credit approval required. All deals end 2/28/2021. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit victorchevrolet.com.
Your Livingston County Department of Health knows when it comes to the COVID vaccine, you've got questions. Currently, New York's in dual phases 1A and 1B of the corona shots. If you're over 65 years old, you're eligible for the vaccine. You can check your personal status by visiting livingstoncounty.us/1207/COVID-19 or call the Department of Health at 877-280-6775. 877-280-6775. Locally, call 243-7299.
Did you know that the Mary Cariola Center has 6 residences that 44 individuals call home? The Community Services Residential Program has long been recognized for groundbreaking therapies and services. Mary Cariola opened the first group residence outside New York City in 1979 for children with severe developmental and physical disabilities. They also opened the first residence in the state for children with severe behavioral challenges. To learn more, volunteer, work, or donate, visit marycariola.org.
Flower City Collision in Henrietta is trusted by numerous corporate fleets. Properly insured and registered in New York, Flower City Collision specializes in working with insurance companies on your behalf. Get it done right. Visit flowercitycollision.com.
Livingston County Pizza offers a full gluten-free menu and bakery along with a regular menu, so your family can enjoy their favorites, including burgers, sandwiches, and even hand-breaded onion rings and Friday fish fries with their dedicated to gluten-free fryer. Livingston County Pizza, you won't believe your belly.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I am Andrew Hollister, sitting in for Kevin Wilson, and I'm seeing a couple of you guys starting to fill in here in the comments, so I wanted to give you guys a shout out. Shout out to Will, Jamie, Scott, and Jeanan. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Just before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about the possibility of impeaching a governor in New York State, Cuomo specifically. How great would that be? And I did pull up the process here just to share with you guys in case you guys were interested. I know I was. This says that the impeachment process is similar to impeaching a president. It begins with the introduction of articles of impeachment, which must be voted upon by the state assembly. If the impeachment is passed by a majority of the assembly, then a court impeachment trial may commence with the lieutenant governor, members of the state senate, and judges from the court of appeals who will preside.
So that's a court proceeding. So that's considerably different from the federal.
Yeah, and it seems that a conviction requires a 2/3 vote from the Senate, similar to the U.S. Senate. Then, if the governor is impeached and removed from office, the lieutenant governor would carry on the duties for the remainder of the term.
Well, it's the old, you got to be careful what you wish for, because the next governor is going to be left of Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. So it looks like there's only ever been one governor impeached in the state of New York. That's William Sulzer, and that was in 1913. He served less than 10 months in office and then embezzled his campaign funds for personal use and was impeached for it. Which is interesting because we're going through some similar things, I think, here in Rochester a little bit. Not quite embezzling, but intermixing of campaign funds with things that they shouldn't have. And I'm sure if people really wanted to find it, I'm sure Cuomo is probably guilty of that. I'm sure a lot of elected officials.
I don't know. I know there's a lot of funny business that went on with the Buffalo Billions and with the with all of the upstate economic development projects. That was just all a bunch of horse hockey. I mean, all the money that was made. I mean, even Del Lago Casino, all the money went into the construction projects for these cockamamie projects, and they've never turned a dollar in terms of appreciable revenue.
Yeah. John McLaughlin on Facebook is asking if Governor Spitzner resigned. I believe he did.
Yeah, I think so.
Scandal.
Yeah.
They didn't go through an impeachment. I think there was just enough press there, that he just did the right thing. We're not going to see that with Cuomo. Cuomo is not going to resign. I would be absolutely shocked if he did. So I don't know that he's even outside of saying, oh, maybe we made a mistake. I don't think we've even gotten as much of an apology or inclination that he may have been wrong.
Well, last night his health czar, Dr. Howard Zucker, went back to he revived that argument that it was the fault of the nursing home workers that caused all the seniors to get COVID. It was brought into the nursing home by the staff members. That was a politically inexpedient thing for him to say at this juncture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And John also comments here, dictators are never willing to give up power. And isn't that the truth?
I seem to remember Ceausescu being, put up against a wall with his wife and shot.
Yeah, and I think that we've already seen this song and dance with Cuomo just with the emergency powers he has right now, and not being willing to give that up. And the state legislators tried to take it back and haven't been able to.
Well, they expire at the end of March.
Yeah, and I don't see any way that they're going to be renewed at all.
No, and that's good news, because then we don't have to fear these executive orders, and hopefully maybe the state can start to get back to business again. I love the doom and gloom from Fauci these days. About, you're probably going to be, we're looking at, he keeps on moving the time horizon out. Early 2022 before things get back to normal and you can stop wearing masks. What is with that? COVID's down like 60%.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's the reality, and I don't know if you saw what happened in Albany, but there is a landlord in Albany who is being charged with kidnapping, who allegedly held his tenants at gunpoint, zip-tied their wrists, and took them out and dumped them in a cemetery because he couldn't legally evict them. And because of this whole, people are getting down to their last bottom, bit of humanity with the government just like making it so that people cannot make money. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, I think I read about a landlord who committed suicide in New York City because their building cost them something like $46,000 a year in taxes, and nobody's paying rent.
Government competence is not really ranking high these days. If we look at the disaster in Texas with the power grid down there and what's happening, people are getting they have these variable rate programs where there's a clause in their power contract that says, well, in extraordinary circumstances, we can raise rates. Well, these people are finding their savings wiped out because they set their accounts up for auto pay, and their $600 a month electric bills turned to $17,000, literally.
Yep. Yeah, I remember seeing that. I think their governor's words were people were gambling on low rates or something like that. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that's what's really dangerous about variable rate stuff, whether it's interest, electric bill.
That's buried in all that stupid verbiage, like your cell bill, that the pages and pages that gets mailed to you. Who reads that?
Yeah.
And if you did read it, you wouldn't understand it.
Yep. And that's exactly what they're counting on. They're counting on you sitting there and it being so convoluted that you couldn't find it in the contract. And if you did find it in the contract, you would scratch your head a little bit and say something along the lines of, that seems weird. What does this even mean? Does this mean I could pay thousands of dollars? And then you sit there and go, no, that would never happen. And then here we go. It's happened. So I know that they're trying to write legislation for that in Texas, but I haven't seen any headway on that yet. But yeah, I tell you, the landlord thing, that certainly hits close to home. I'm seeing, especially in Rochester, all of these multi-unit properties going up for sale and sitting on the market for months and months and months. And these landlords are trying to sell these properties because the tenants aren't paying. There's no way to collect on payment. They're still paying the taxes. They're still paying the water bill. In some cases, they're paying the RG&E bill. And they're stuck. They don't have anything. For some of them, that's their only income. For others, it's a side thing. And I just feel really bad that they're in that situation because there's no relief there. And there's a couple articles I read this last week too about people just totally destroying property. There being zero recourse, and being in a situation myself where I put a substantial amount of my savings into a property not so long ago, and seeing what other people are going through, knowing that some of them probably did the same thing. It's a really, really terrible oversight from state and federal government, for sure. Just saying that people can basically get away with not paying their bills and that there's essentially zero recourse for it. So it's a bad time to be a small business owner.
Yeah, especially in New York State. It hasn't been good to be a small business owner in New York State for some time. But now that basically the state has declared war on small business, basically blaming every small business in the state for prolonging the COVID crisis, which is just not true.
Yeah. Well, and every time the state has looked into the numbers about who they were blaming for things, the numbers aren't there. It's like when they shut down the barber shops and the hair salons, and they said, this is where COVID's spreading. And they found out it was like less than 2% of the cases.
Not true.
And, it's just every single time the state wants to point the finger at the citizen for the state's mistakes.
They've been lying to us so long, they think they can sell us on anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, people are believing it. They still are. All right, guys, you're listening to A Free Solution. I'm Andrew Hollister. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, He is my refuge and my fortress, for He will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182.
Coming back.
3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Free solution.
Hey guys, welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, sitting in for Kevin Wilson. Kevin's out for the day.
Wait a minute. There. You were the originator of the show.
It's
ironic that you're filling in for Kevin.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mr. Johnny Come Lately. I mean, this is your show.
Yeah, well, everything comes full circle, and who knows, maybe in the near future I'll be able to be here a little bit more often. I know Kevin would appreciate that, and it looks like life might be letting up enough that maybe that'll be possible.
Did you get permission from Dr. Fauci?
Oh, no, I don't seek permission. I'll ask for forgiveness later. I try not to, ask too many people for too many things. At the beginning of the show, I did ask everybody, I said, if anything came up that you think would be good or positive out of the government response to COVID, let me know. And I know that I know we came up with Cuomo might be gone. That's a good one. Somebody else had mentioned a reduction in pollution due to lower travel and reduced manufacturing. But, one of the things that I wonder and I think about often is if education will become better because of COVID, and for a few reasons. One is because now students can learn, and possibly at some point with a specialized teacher without having to travel to a specialized school. That's one way. But also because I think that people who have a lot of student debt are looking at a college education very differently. Some colleges have just been giving refunds back to their students, which I think is the right and appropriate thing. They're saying,
no kidding. Not many, from my experience.
Not many, but some are. Some have stepped up and said, hey, we sold you a specific type of education. We cannot deliver that education to you. Here's a refund. I think that's perfectly appropriate. I think most schools should probably be refunding most of the degrees they issued, to be honest, because they've sold these students on job opportunity and a wealth of knowledge that will lead them to be successful in life, which just quite frankly hasn't happened. But the other thing that I think will be better is now that people are looking at when the government shut things down and the jobs that were shut down, I think that people are going to say, hey, you know what's important? You know what stuck around? You know what was quote unquote essential according to the government? The trades. And the trades for at least a decade, if not longer, have been severely undervalued. Severely undervalued. We've pushed students to become in debt for college. We've pushed them into fields that don't have the growth that people have said. And to be honest, there's not many young people pursuing becoming a plumber, becoming an electrician. There are some that are into general construction, but overall, when I meet with people, they say, yeah, youngest guy I know in my industry is 54. And that's a problem because we have a shortage of tradespeople. So I think one way that education is going to get better is people are going to say, wait a minute, the trades didn't get shut down. We need to be in the trades. And I hope that that means that less people will go into debt for a college education and that more people will invest in an apprenticeship working under a tradesman to help fill that gap.
The collapse of higher education is imminent. People are really, really getting fed up with the indoctrination, with all this nonsense that's going on in the public schools. And then in the colleges, it's just become exponentially worse. It's all this leftist claptrap that most of it just doesn't even make any sense. And it's extremely toxic in that it creates this entitlement attitude among the kids. They don't know anything. They come out with no skills, but they're saddled with all this debt. And it's terrible. Now, you know, if you have a degree in gender studies and you spent $60,000 a year on it for the last 4 years, you have only yourself to blame for that. But the whole system, with an 18-year-old in college right now, I can tell you personally, the whole system is designed to push everybody in that direction.
Oh, yeah. Well, and not just that. I mean, students are going into this being told by guidance counselors in high school that this is the only way to be successful. And sometimes by their parents, that this is the only way to be successful.
Well, that was the model in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, was you went to college. If you went to college, you were going to have a better life than your parents. But, you know, the colleges were not the colleges of today back then.
Yeah. No, it's totally true.
They were showing danger signs, but they weren't that bad.
Yeah. So what's happening is students have been being given that kind of what it was as fact and truth. And then they exit college, sometimes with a degree, sometimes without, and find out that it's just not true. They're not going to be better off than their parents. In fact, usually they have to move back in with their parents just to survive. Or what is worse, but it's just the situation is they have to go back to school so that their loans can be deferred. And what that means is they're taking on more debt just to push it down the road a little bit further. So this is not good. And I hope that people have seen through COVID that this isn't the way.
Well, this is the great fear of higher education now, is that people, the COVID distance learning model has taught everybody what a scam a lot of this is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if it were up to me, you know, if I had some high school, you know, junior, sophomore, whatever, contemplating a college career, I would say New St. Andrews College out in, I think it's in Utah, maybe it's Wyoming, or Hillsdale.
No.
Other than that, you know, you don't go to school.
No. No.
Unless you've got a plan for what you're going to do with a degree, a specific plan, not just the, you know, this model now where these kids are just stacking up credentials.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my bachelor's. No, now I'll get a master's. Now I'll get, you know, some other graduate program going or whatever. That's not going to help you earn anything.
No, and it's the opposite. And I think that there were many people, and this is just based on conversations with people here in the local area, some people who I know, some people who just were in passing. You know, I think a lot of people are banking on the Biden administration forgiving a certain amount of student debt. You know, originally it was going to be all federal student debt. Then they said, oh, well, maybe just the first $50K. Well, Biden came out, I think it was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and said, nope, can't do that. Not going to be doing that. And so now that has come to the front and forward from his mouth, I think people are going to be like, oh, okay, so student debt is not going to be forgiven. You can't file bankruptcy for student debt. That was something that Obama put in place. Student debt is the one and only debt that you will take on that you can never escape, that you'll be trapped in forever. And then government response to COVID shut down many, many people's jobs. So they couldn't afford to pay off that debt. But in some cases, the interest was still ticking month after month, day after day. I think this is seriously going to revamp how education, or at least borrowing for education, happens.
I think that we're poised for a crash. I really am. I mean, these colleges they're already in a position where they're struggling, and they're terrified of this distance learning model because people are learning that I don't have to spend $60,000, $65,000 a year to get a degree.
Yeah.
And in point of fact, I can learn useful skills without all the indoctrination if I don't spend all that money. There's been a big scandal about a lot of colleges are still charging for room and board, even though the kids, if they go to school, are locked in their rooms, are not permitted to use the campus or the campus facilities, and they're literally sitting in dorm rooms. And you know what dorm rooms are like.
Yeah.
You remember what those are like.
Yeah.
Eating mac and cheese and chicken burritos.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually one of the big money makers that they're going to miss out on, is the more stuff shifts to online. I mean, they would make untold amounts of money on overpriced food, overpriced dorms.
That's where the money
campus
is.
living, all of that stuff. And I know that I have somebody who works for one of the local colleges. They sent out an email almost like chastising the staff a little bit about the fact that there weren't as many students on campus and how many millions of dollars that represented lost to the campus. Those online schools, those online colleges, they figured it out years ago. And now college education, a lot of people, I think, are going to be second guessing this.
The financial structure of a lot of colleges is their primary profit center is in room and board.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on A Free Solution.
Welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was great being with you guys, and hopefully I'll be around a little bit more. Enjoy your weekend.